Talking Grit, a Detroit Lions podcast. Powered by the Monroe County Reporters. Here are your hosts, Jason Harwood and Jacob Litton.
Welcome to another episode of Talking Grit. I am Jason Harwood. Jacob Litton is here as usual. I know from feedback that we've gotten from everybody that you like when we bring on someone from another team. We like that too. However, I had trouble this week getting someone again. I promise next week we have some for Tampa Bay. Tampa Tones, who we had on last year, great guest, so we're looking forward to that. However, when we don't get a guest, we have this awesome backup plan. And so for the second week in a row, we get Ash Soden from the Roar of the Lions UK podcast. I can't tell you how grateful I am for him staying up late for us and everything, and just the quality of guests he is on the show. I'm super grateful. So thanks for coming back, Ash.
It's all right. Glad to be back. I obviously love you speaking to you guys, and I'm glad we could get through the mountain of tech issues that we had that's delayed this. So instead of the nice, lovely 2 o'clock we agreed, it's 2:30, and I'm scared that any second now my parents are going to come down. Though they didn't come down when I cheered when the Tigers finally started to remember how to hit the ball. So fingers crossed we should be good for now.
Yeah,
Nice.
I like your Tigers hat. You both have Tigers hats on, man. I feel left out. I should be wearing mine.
It's October,
right.
man. You gotta get with it.
Before we get started, Jacob, I have a secret to tell you. It's something I did not share with you on Monday. On Sunday, did not wear my Lion socks.
Interesting.
Sorry.
You were that confident that you did not wear the Lion socks.
No. So here's how.
Hang on.
There's-
Time out.
It's
Time out. Did you put them on in the fourth quarter? Did they
No, I
stay
did
off
not.
the whole time? Okay.
And then about halfway through, we were up by so much. I was like, I'm not doing it. And then they started to come back, and I was like, maybe I should go get those out. But I never did. So, Jacob, I don't know if I need to keep wearing them. In your opinion, I probably need. I will wear them on Sunday. I will wear them when we play the Chiefs. I will wear them. I promise.
Yeah, that was too close of a call. And now you, in hindsight, have jinxed the Tigers, so you can't wear those socks anymore on Tigers.
I won't. I've already thought that you're going to tell me that, so I won't wear them, especially because it's the same pitcher on Friday. I will not wear those same
right.
socks.
We don't need a repeat of the last time school pitched.
No.
No run support whatsoever.
Exactly. All right, Jacob. Ash loves the Tigers, but he's here to talk Lions football. So why don't you go through the transactions and get everybody caught up to where we are?
All right, transactions since the last time that we were on. We did officially place cornerback Khalil Dorsey on injured reserve, and in his place, we signed offensive lineman Dan Skipper to the active roster from the practice squad. A lot of, alarms might be going off in certain people's heads just because of how Manu played last time, and to think, maybe this means Decker is not there. Dave Burkett tweeted earlier that Decker is trending in the right direction to play this weekend. So maybe Skipper's just there for some more support, not necessarily brought up to start in Decker or Manu's place. For what it's worth, Campbell did say, I've got the quote from him. He says, I don't want to put Decker out there if it means that we get a couple games and then we don't have him for the rest of the year. It makes no sense, so we're going to play this thing smart. I guess to sum it up, we still don't know about Decker, right? We can't say for sure. We don't know, if he's still just resting. Don't know if they are going to put him out there or not. The last transaction that we have, we signed a corner. So we signed cornerback Arthur Millette to the practice squad. And he's a veteran. He's played in 85 games. He did only appear in 3 games last year for Baltimore. He spent training camp with the Texans this year and didn't make the final roster. No, we did not sign an all-pro cornerback that was sitting at home in October of the NFL season like how some people wanted, but we did get another corner for some more support.
I know. Everyone's like, oh, Brad Holmes is going to sign this injured player. I'm like, that's the people that are available. Like, there's no one sitting on the couch going, man, no one wants me to play for them. Like, I don't know. People have unrealistic expectations. One thing I will point out about Arthur Mallet is that so the Lions did get a pretty good look at him during training camp because I assume he was there for the joint practices. So obviously we played a preseason game with them, and then he was there. And he's mostly a nickel coverage corner. So, just so everyone's clear. But he's on our practice squad. I doubt he's going to get brought up this week, but maybe Trey Flowers got brought up last week, so we don't know at this point. Ash, what do you make of the Skipper? What he said about Skipper being brought up, and then coupled with the Burkett tweets.
So I knew it was kind of on the cards when in Monday's presser, Dan did mention Skip as a possibility to fill in at left tackle. And that did start setting the alarm bells off because, like, all we've heard is that he's been dealing with a tendonitis, which I know from one of my friends who has it, is not a fun thing. And when you're like 6'9" that he is, you need your knees to activate because obviously lone man always wins. So I was like, he's mentioning Skip here. Maybe he's good. He's close to, being back. Obviously, we signed him, and it did worry me for a bit. But as you quite rightly point out to me in our Twitter conversation, this could just mean we're leaning into more 6 offensive lineman looks again. We haven't really done it this year, and that was a wrinkle that was very much part of our offense the past couple of years. That's why Skip was on the roster so much, is because he's so good in that role. It might just be us introducing a new wrinkle into the offense, not only to confuse the Chiefs, because obviously we're pretty damn good running out of that look, but also we can use Skip as that 6 offensive lineman outside of Manu if we need to, just to give him a little bit of extra protection in the passing game, though looking at the edge rusher who usually lines up over the left tackle for the Chiefs. Maybe that's not needed this week because it's Charles Omenihu, who is currently ranked 99th out of all of qualifying edges on PFF. So, not exactly a Trey Hendrickson we're facing this week. So I'm happy Skip's finally active, even if it is just to run some Caden Proctor plays. Like we've probably all seen what Alabama have been doing with him the past couple of weeks, the screen pass, the run from under center. Maybe that's why we brought Skip in, if which case I'm very happy because I've been calling for an Lee McNeil fullback dive on the goal line for the past 4 years. And then with Martha Mallet, brought a real hammer blow to people's hopes for, just mentioned an all-pro corner. I know Stephon Gilmore was a name tossed round. Kendall Fuller was one that I was putting round, someone that recently tried out for the Dolphins, who's been there, done that when we were initially looking to upgrade our cornerback room a couple of years ago. He was on our radar, good run defense and all that. Santa Samuel's another one that obviously popped up with his neck fusion injury, his history of bad run defense and tackling. Knew that was going to be a possibility. But yeah, Mallet, good veteran guy. Obviously, he's played on a good couple of teams. Obviously, the Texans play a similar system to us, especially on the back end. He's been on Baltimore Ravens back last year, so they were a good defense last year, especially the time when he played for them. It was around the time their secondary started turning around, and just brings in that veteran presence we might need in the nickel because right now it's Avonte Maddox, and then we're probably looking at bringing Branch down from the safety room, so it just gives us a bit more leeway in the slot corner room. While it looks like, hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll be a Meek and then Rock Ya-Sin starting on the outside, and then at least we have Trey Flowers, Eric Callett, who's still sitting on the practice squad, who can maybe be brought up to fill up outside corner and slot and safety, and then of course Nick Whiteside, who we signed as well to the practice squad again last week. So at least we've got a couple of options there, depending on what we need matchup wise to bring up off the practice squad and tame this Patrick Mahomes led offense.
Mm-hmm. We've got the bodies. We'll see who's out there and how they hold up.
It'll be interesting. I mean, we play so much base that we don't have a nickel back out there so much. So then Ami can do his thing. Branch is the total wild card that just like you had mentioned. Like we could bring him down a nickel, and then we just put someone else back at safety. So we have the people. It's just if we suffer another injury, that's when things start to get really hairy. I don't know if we mentioned this pod before, but Rock Ya-Sin, like he went to appeared injured 2 times, but if you look at the broadcast, they were giving him electrolytes and like everything on the sideline. So I think that's more of a sign of cramps than anything else. Mm-hmm. So hopefully he gets hydrated properly this week, and maybe he wasn't prepared to play 35, 40 snaps because he's going to have to play, the whole game. So, it could be 60 snaps running around like crazy because Patrick Mahomes extends plays, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
He definitely does.
Yeah. All right. Do you got any thoughts on the skipper thing, Jacob, before we move on?
No, I agree with what you guys had already said. I mean, if they put him out here, 6 linemen, see how it goes. I will say, though, that, I know Ash said Karlaftis usually lines up on the other side, but if you're smart and you're the Chiefs and you know that Manu's starting, pretty sure that, Karlaftis would be moving over, or at least trying to give him the best shot at pressuring the quarterback. And if you're Karlaftis, would you rather go up against Penei Sewell or Manu and Skipper? I think you'd rather take on both of them than have to go over Penei.
They slide
hope,
Chris Jones
but-
to the outside too sometimes. So I mean, Chris Jones
Yeah.
can go over there too, and that really frightens me. Although, maybe the way he played that, Trevor Lawrence is on his back and he didn't do anything in that play. That was such a crazy play.
Yeah, it's just so. It's because the reason I specifically picked out Humanity is because unfortunately they are like how we were last year. So remember, obviously the whole fact was that Hutch just basically played 80% of his snaps over the right tackle. They're the same. Like Carl Afters and Gillot, who I really loved in this draft class, and unfortunately has really hit the ground running for them. Yeah, they just face the right tackle, and then because they have a similar system to us, they're a 4-3 over. They do like to play their sort of bigger edges against the left tackles. That's a Menahue and Mike Dana, who PFF have got listed as a starter, even though he's played less than 100 snaps and Menahue's at 200. So if they're smart, they will. But unfortunately, right now, it looks like they're really sticking to you play this side, you play this side. So that's good for us because if Saul, currently in possession of the best PFF grade for an offensive tackle over 5 games ever, then we've definitely got a matchup advantage there. And, considering I just spent last tonight while watching the Tigers game, writing 800 words on the Manu and Skipper versus Menahue force, I don't want to have what happened last week when I spent all that time looking at Decker versus Hendrickson, and then Decker goes and I have to be like, disregard this section.
Man,
Yeah.
I've done that before, worked my butt off, and then last minute changes. All right, Jacob, why don't you get into our section main threats? So what do we have to be worried about? Let's start with the offense of the Chiefs.
All right, main threats, the offense of the Chiefs. These are the Pro Football Focus rankings. Creed Humphrey, their center, is rated 1st right now. Guard Trey Smith is rated 8th. Tight end Travis Kelce is rated 13th. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes rated 14th. And wide receiver Xavier Worthy rated 25th. Also worth noting that the NFL Top 100 this year, Creed Humphrey was on there, number 93. 3 would be insane as a center, right? Number 93 for Creed Humphrey. Travis Kelce was on there, number 37. Patrick Mahomes, number 5. Obviously, Mahomes is a threat every time he's out there on the field. Travis Kelce may have lost a step, but still performing well. Xavier Worthy was injured, missed a little bit of time, but he's a huge downfield threat, and he's somebody that definitely need to circle and find out where he's at every play.
Yeah, their wide receivers are super fast. They're all in the 4.3 range for speed. So that, just creates space. And for Travis Kelce, which he has definitely lost a step or two. And I don't think he catches the ball as cleanly as he used to catch it, but he also knows how to get open, and he's got a guy that can extend plays. So I think that we have the better tight end of the matchup in this game, Sam Laporta for sure. But Travis Kelce is just, a lot of it's just rapport with Mahomes and, just being in the right place at the right time for their offense. He didn't play in the last matchup. That was part of the asterisk. Him and Chris Jones didn't play in the last game, so we didn't have to deal with Travis Kelce. All right, Jacob, who's on defense?
Defense for the Chiefs. 5th in Pro Football Focus, cornerback Trent McDuffie. Then 12th out of 80, safety Brian Cook. They've got a couple linebackers on here. 13th, Leo Chenal, and then 15th, Drew Tranquil. And then player of note, Chris Jones, actually rated 76 out of 119 for defensive linemen. He's not rated very positive on Pro Football Focus this year. McDuffie was on the top 100 list. He was number 81. Chris Jones actually made it all the way up to number 12 on the top 100. Pro Football Focus does not feel like he's performing up to speed, though.
Yeah, sometimes I want to know about their grading system, but because regardless what that grade is, you have to know where he's at, and you better be prepared to block him. You better slide protection over there. My wonder is, like, we all saw that play where he was just huffing and puffing. That was the end of the game. So maybe he's wiped out. He's a big 350-pound guy. But that's also the last play of the game, probably the most important play of the game. You better be running. I don't think that would, Dan Campbell would see that tape and you would get called out 100%. So any other players that on offense or defense that you think we should look out for, Ash?
Well, one is their 1st round pick from this year, which I predicted. On our thing, we were interviewing our Chiefs person, and I was like, "Oh yeah, what do you think about Josh Simmons? He's going to be right in your range. Do you think he'd be a good left tackle for you?" He's like, "No, I don't want him." Cue them trading down to obviously 32 with the Philadelphia Eagles, which I will forever hate them for because I was a massive Jihad Campbell fan in the draft, and how dare they let them get him? But yeah, they go and select Josh Simmons, and he's fixed their left tackle spot. So I think I saw a tweet earlier today that over the past 5 years, the Chiefs' left tackles allowed a pressure rate of about 13%. Josh Simmons is currently at 5.5%. He is pretty damn good in pass protection, and that's going to be an issue. But luckily, because of the way that we like to move our edge rushers around now, we're not like last year, we're very static. We can play in that. He is a converted guard that played at San Diego State, went up to Ohio State, and then obviously suffered that injury. There's going to be still a bit of rust in there, and he's a Ohio State player, so he's used to losing to Michigan players. So line a punch over him, spin move, spin move, spin move, and let him absolutely tear it off. Because we're talking about the second highest rated edge in the league right now as a pass rush, and in Hutch, leading the league in pressures and all this, and finally getting the respect he deserves with the defensive player of the year stuff. All that Michael Parsons stuff's now in the past. Josh Simmons is definitely something to watch out on offense, and then defense. As much as it pains me, there is a funny story behind why it pains me. But you mentioned Leo Chanel. It's him because he's very much their Derek Barnes. They can line him up everywhere. They line him up as an off-ball guy in coverage and run defense, and then they use him on the defensive line as well, shading over, particularly that bright defensive end who lines over left tackle. And he is very, very good. You must have seen the one-handed interception he got 2 weeks ago where he was covering Mark Andrews and just goes whoop like that right behind him and catches it one-handed. This is a guy who came into the league primarily as a blitzer from Wisconsin. I didn't like him for that reason. Just thought he's just a blitzer, can't run, defend, can't cover. He's turned into one of the best linebackers in the league. And if he's matched up against Gibbs, Monty, or Laporta in the passing game, he'd be able to cover them while also being a good blitzer, maybe exploiting our weakness on the interior offensive line. And with the left tackle, if Deck doesn't go, he's their matchup piece that they might be able to use to break open our offense, unfortunately.
That's why we have you on, Ash. You got the juice there. All right, Jacob, you did a lot of work here. I'm going to let you did all this work so Jacob, we at the main threads, we always go through the other team's PFF grades. We're over a quarter way through the season, so Jacob wanted to see where our players stand. We have 11 players in the top 20 at their position in PFF. So, Jacob, I'm going to let you show off everyone your work there.
All right. Both running backs are in the top 20. We'll start there. David Montgomery is ranked 12th out of 50. Jameer Gibbs actually ranked 13th out of 50. So, Demo rated one higher than Jameer Gibbs for that. Amon-Ra St. Brown, second out of 125 receivers. Rookie Tate Ratledge rated right at 20th out of 79 guards. Penei Sewell rated number 1 overall out of 71 tackles. Tight end Sam Laporta is rated 3rd. And then edge rushers, Aiden Hutchinson right now is rated 1st out of 109. Al-Quadin Muhammad is top 10. He's actually ranked number 9, which was great to see. Linebacker Jack Campbell, 3rd out of 75. Safety Brian Branch, 5th out of 80 safeties. And then cornerback DJ Reed, 19th out of 106. 11
so
of
you
our
did not
guys
mention
on
Jared
top 20.
Goff. So Jared Goff is not in the top 20?
Jared Goff is 21.
Which is insane.
Right.
He's putting up amazing numbers.
Pro Football Focus hates Jared Goff. I don't understand. We talked about this several times. I don't get how their grades come out when he can be nearly perfect and still get like a 60 grade or something.
Because he's just taking what's there. He doesn't have any big time throws. He doesn't run around. I've tweeted out the clip because I know Al, our good friend, tweeted about it, and I just got the exact timestamp. Literally in their grade review show for this week, they spent 5 minutes trying to defend their thing, and you can see one of their analysts getting really het up that people were coming at them like, why? Like, if he's taking stuff that's said that's good, he's got accurate throws, but it's not fig and flashy. They really do hate Jared Goff, but people are turning around. I think it's Skip Bayless I saw earlier today on Twitter saying that Jared Goff is a potential Hall of Famer. So slowly but surely, Goff is winning people around, but he will not win over the stats nerds, despite him having the best completion percentage over expected. All these things, like leading the league in passing touchdowns, complete percentage this year as well. Nope, just because he doesn't have a bit of mobility and he doesn't have like the flashy plays where he can throw on his knees from the touchline and get it to like the 20 on the other side. They hate him. It's always, when anything goes right, it's his playmakers. When anything goes wrong, it's Jared Goff is not a good QB. He's helped by Ben Johnson and Sean McVay. There's no in between.
Yeah,
Yep.
You're right.
Perfectly said, Ash. All right, we're going to move on to the injury report. So Terrion Hunter shows up on there, did not practice. we're going to briefly run through this timeline because I'm sure everyone listening to this has kind of heard everything. But in case you haven't, he re-injures his shoulder on Sunday. He's carted off. We all see that. 10-6, which is the Monday after. Dan Campbell praises his play, but that follows it up real quickly with unfortunately, he's going to be out for a while. And by a while, I mean, that means injury list, maybe rest of the season. Tom Pelissero tweets out that Tyrion's going to require surgery. They're still looking at other opinions. Adam Schefter says the next day that actually later on that day on 10-7 at 12 at noon said that second opinion says surgery is not necessary. It might be back as soon as this month. And then so they asked Dan Campbell about it today. He was not placed on IR. Dan Campbell says the second opinion story is true, but they still are kind of in this wait and see. Is this something that they could heal up? So we still don't know, but now that they've avoided surgery, it looks like Tyrion could be back later on this year. So it's better news now than it was before, but we're still kind of up in the air when he's come back. But they still haven't put him on injured reserve, that's a better sign of him being able to come back in the next 4 games. After that, our injury list is quite long. So Tyrion Arnold did not practice. Zach Cunningham still not practicing with the hamstring injury. Taylor Decker did not practice, although Dave Burkett said he's trending up. So maybe Friday, if he gets a practice in, we'll kind of know a little bit more. But even then, it might be a game day decision or a Saturday decision. Kirby Joseph did not practice, same knee injury. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Khalif did not practice. It was noted that he was working with trainers and running around. So we could he could potentially come back this week. Just if he's up moving around, that's a good sign that he's up with the trainers and active in practice. The big one that was a surprise to all of us was Amon-Ra with a wrist injury, did not practice. I fully expect him to play. We don't know exactly when he'd injured it. There's the Jimmy Lau posted when he thought it happened in Cleveland. I noticed during the game that he was flexing his wrist a lot, so I posted a thing on Twitter. I don't think the injury happened on that play, but you could definitely see it was bothering him during that play. It was 11 minutes left in the first quarter. So if you go to our Twitter page, you can see the video. I actually did it on Reddit too. So if you don't have Twitter, you can go to Reddit and see it in the Detroit Lions forum. Sione Vaki still hasn't practiced with the groin injury. So that's not looking good this week. Brian Branch, I almost said Deanne Branch.
Oh, man.
Stupid Vilma's in my head. Brian Branch, ankle injury, limited practice. And this is cool, though. Aleem McNeil, full practice. We might see Aleem McNeil this week. That would be awesome. That would be a nice shot in the arm for getting some pressure on Patrick Mahomes in the middle of that defense. I would go through the Chiefs injury report, but it's a full practice for everybody. There's 10 names on that list, but they're all full practice. So, there's not worth going through that list because I don't think they're going to be missing any players. So, unfortunately, it looks like the Chiefs are going to be, fully healthy, and we're the Lions, and we're fighting off some injuries. But I'm confident that Amon-Ra will come back. Are you concerned about any of those, Jacob?
No, not really. I mean, if Amon-Ra can play with a torn oblique hindering his ability to move, then I think the wrist is going to be fine if it's not broken. We all know he can catch the ball. Yep. It's really disappointing to keep seeing Vaki on this list because, he's not on injured reserve. So he's been out here, but he's only played in 1 game for the first 5 weeks. And they've been different injuries he's been battling since training camp, too. It's not always the same thing. So frustrating to see Vaki on there again and not hearing much about it. Hopefully Khalif plays. I know we talked about that briefly before, but the return game definitely takes a hit without Khalif being out there for sure.
I agree. But I am happy, if we know Khalif's not playing and Tesla's getting all those reps now, he's going to be ready. Last week he got thrust in the middle of the game. This one he'll be ready, and they'll have route concepts and he'll have practice it because they talked about it in the press conference today. Scotty Montgomery did that. He had seen the concepts, he knew the plays, but he hadn't run them. So it's getting lined up in the right spot. He hadn't done that on the practice field, and he was able. Scotty Montgomery said he did good, but it'd be nice to run him through those reps and have him ready and make him be a weapon. I mean, he still caught a touchdown pass last week, right? But I mean, I'd like him to be more of a weapon. But, that would be nice. All right, Jacob. Kansas City, you want to go over some of their season stats, just kind of let everyone know where they're at right now?
Yes, so the Chiefs, where they stand right now, they have a 2-3 record. They just lost their last game to Jacksonville, and that was in the final minute. All 3 of their losses have been by 1 possession. So all their losses have been close games. They're 1-1 at home this season currently. Their stats break down offense, they're 8th in yards per game, 9th in passing yards, 11th in rushing yards. And defense, they are 13th in yards per game, 7th in passing yards, 21st in rushing yards per game. And that's what we like to see, is a rushing defense towards the bottom half of the league.
Yep, that's right. They're tied for 10th in points scored, and they are tied for 15th in points allowed. So, they are not playing. They might be playing like the Chiefs were last year, because they were in a lot of one-possession games, and those tend to flip. Like, you remember Vikings from a few years ago won all those games, and then the following year didn't play as well. So those things, it doesn't surprise me that it happens like that. But when you have a playmaker like Mahomes, a proven winner, Super Bowl champion, I think Dan Campbell says it right. He's like, they just know how to win, and they just get themselves in a position to win. But the Jags got the best of them on Monday. Ash, it would have been really late for you. Were you watching the game? Did you stay up and watch it? Or I don't know what you do on Monday nights.
So unfortunately not, because I had some stuff on, but I did catch it the day after, because obviously I wanted to scout the Chiefs, and it just it came down to the Chiefs' big Achilles heel for me, in the fact that they can't stop the run. So you mentioned their defensive yards allowed. They're even worse when it comes down to some of the advanced metrics. They're in the bottom 4 for rushing success rate allowed on defense and rushing EPA per play allowed. That's how the Jags kind of got them. Like Trevor Lawrence, thankfully for me being an FSU fan, has not lived up to his status that he had at Clemson. He's kind of fallen back down to earth a bit. But you saw Trevor Etienne kind of came back to what he used to be in that game. And it's how they kept it close. And obviously, with a couple of turnovers, that Jags defense this year, they're just very opportunistic. They managed to get a couple of turnovers, get a couple of stops, and it was enough. And that's a good game plan for us. Like, you look at the Jags rushing attack, and then you look at ours, you're like, oh, we're better there. They might be getting some lucky plays on opportunistic turnovers. Like, they've got the best turnover EPA in the league, lead the league in turnovers. They're 2 more than us. Steelers are second with 1 more than us, unfortunately, and then we're third. We've got absolute playmakers that can take advantage of bad plays by Mahomes. You just have to rewind 2 years to 2023 when a certain rookie slot cornerback got pick 6 on Mahomes in his first ever career game at Arrowhead when they're raising the banner. We've got the voodoo that the Jags somehow got. We've got all that plus the added voodoo of Goff is undefeated against Mahomes. Brian Branch first pick 6. There's a certain of a safety who I know would love to add Mahomes to his list of QBs he's picked off. He's already got the supposed GOAT of this division. Why not add the GOAT in Baton to his list? They're just, I know part of the defense that they always do, we've heard it before, is that Spags likes to put it bluntly, F around and find out before the bye, see what his players can do. So then when they come out the bye, he's got the perfect game plan to execute with these defensive plays, and you see them shoot up in the defensive rankings. We've got them, fortunately, before the bye again. We can exploit some of their messing around on defense, and then on offense, yeah, they can throw the ball downfield. Mahomes is there. Yards have more than doubled, I believe, since last season, because he's got Xavier Worthy, he's got Tyquan Thornton, he's a good speed option on the outside. Juju Smith-Schuster, as much as he's just a possession guy, they use him right as well. They've got Hollywood Brown, who used to be in Baltimore with Lamar, again, a deep threat. They have all these deep threats, and they spread them around. They don't have a recognized slot receiver, which helps them on offense as well. I believe all those 4 receivers are just listed, spent between 35 and 45% of their snaps in the slot. They exploit matchups on their offense, which kind of kept them in it with the Jags, kept them ahead. But again, because we know how to match up against them in terms of, as much as Amik is small and feisty, he'll be able to, shut down a 180-pound Xavier Worthy who's got a busted shoulder. No worries about that. And the fact that they're leading to 12 personnel, they've run it the 8th most in the league. That's what our base package is designed for. We're ahead of the league. We started running base last year before this 2 tight end revolution. we will be able to match up against Noah Gray and Travis Kelce. You just, at least for me, I'm looking at all these matchups that I saw, especially against the Jags, where I think it was one of their safeties. They had some really good coverage reps on Travis Kelce, and I was like, Branch can do that, Kirby can do that. I just saw these things as like, we can do that, but better. So no wonder, like, Kansas City Chiefs fans are kind of scared right now. Like the ones I know over here have kind of gone radio silent since Monday because they know that the Lions are here to come into their place again and potentially definitely end their hopes of the number one seed. And I would have said ended their divisional hopes if, Justin Herbert had 2 tackles and Bo Nix maybe could be a bit more consistent. But we can put a real shock up them and, show we're for real because we want to fully wipe out week 1. There's still some people talking about it. I think if we win on Sunday night, which is going to be horrific for me because I'm going to have to be up until 5 in a busy casino in London. If we win, the celebration is going to be so sweet. And then I can sleep on that coach ride home a happy man.
Nice.
Oh man, it's a good monologue there, Ash. I appreciate all your data because you left in a couple things that I'm going to talk about here. First, when I think of Kansas City Chiefs, I think of them getting penalties. Right? They seem to get the perfect penalty at the perfect time. Patrick Mahomes is a complainer. Like, I'm going to get so mad on Sunday with him throwing his hands up in the air about everything, talking to the refs. He talked him out of a offensive pass interference penalty on Monday night. They threw the flag and then they picked it up after Mahomes was in there. You could hear him on the field mic going, 1-1. He was 1 year. You threw the flag, call the penalty. It doesn't happen for anybody else, but they picked it up for Mahomes. But Kansas City is the 5th most penalized team in the NFL right now. A lot of it's in their secondary. They have a very physical secondary. So, defensive holding. There was a blatant pass interference on Trevor Lawrence interception that was not called last week, but they did call the one in the end zone, right, the second to last play of the game. They got that call right. Lions are 21st in penalties this year. However, the Lions have had 10 of their penalties declined because some of them are the Terrion penalties or secondary penalties, and they still make the catch. Like, if we're going to pass interfere, just knock the guy out. We don't need to play cute. Kansas City has had 5 penalties declined, so we're actually a little more even. I looked back at see how they benefited. KC has had 29 penalties in their benefit for 260 yards. While we've had 27, we've only benefited 174 yards. I'm thinking I didn't look to see where it is, but I'm sure they're pass interference penalties when Mahomes just threw it up. I think all of us hate it when a quarterback makes a bad throw, they underthrow it, and then the receiver just runs it to the cornerback, and then they call a pass interference. That stuff, it drives me nuts. So the refs are throwing flags on Kansas City this year, so hopefully it falls in our favor. The next thing that you brought up, Ash, was the Goff versus Mahomes. So I went and looked up their head-to-head stats, and I have them here. I'm going to post them on the screen. So if you are on our YouTube channel, you'll be able to see those. If you're audio, we'll just talk about them. You can hear them here. So let's see if I can blow this up a little bit so everybody can see it. There we go. So Mahomes has in the 2 games. Goff is 2-0 versus him. Mahomes does edge him in the yards, 704 to 660. Oh man, Goff has the devil's number, guys, 666. That's rough. He's Patrick Mahomes' devil, I think. So Goff has thrown 5 touchdowns, 0 picks, whereas Patrick Mahomes has thrown 8 touchdowns but 4 picks, and 2 of those picks. Pick sixes, and we all know one of them was Branch, right? And where Goff gets them is Goff has rushed for 73 yards, or Goff has rushed for 5, where Mahomes has rushed for 73 yards. That doesn't surprise any of us, but Goff is going to need to do this type of game. No picks, scores touchdown. I think we can get to Patrick Mahomes with our safety play. I think that we could do that if we get some pressure, but we all, you mentioned this earlier. Goff doesn't get the respect that he deserves. He's beating Mahomes head to head, two games to 1. One was that Rams game. That was an awesome
54 to 51.
That was an all-timer, entertaining game. And then the other one was an all-timer in as far as Lions history for us, to kick off that season. legitimized the Lions. Dan Campbell, it really kicked us off to, how everyone perceived the Lions. So we need to, if we, Ash is like kind of, saying the same thing. This will make people forget about week 1. We're already number 1 in the power rankings for a vast majority of outlets. So most people have forgotten about that, but this will, it's Sunday night, primetime game. Everyone's going to be watching. I bet you this is the highest rated Sunday night game up to this point. I'm sure it will be. So let's just show them that we're the Lions and we're ready for a Super Bowl run.
Primetime Lions.
All right. Yep. All right. So, because we couldn't get the opposing team writer or podcaster on to interview them, Jacob ran to Reddit and he got some interesting questions. So I'm going to let you take the floor here, Jacob. What questions did you ask? And, let's go over those responses.
Yeah, we don't have to spend too much time, but I do have, the funny thing for me is the names. Because I told them if, you give a comment, I might shout you out. So I'm going to say the names. Reddit names are ridiculous. And I forgot about this. I did this last year when the Jaguars. I forgot about that, but now here we are. First question I asked on there is, from the Chiefs side, do they consider the last matchup against the Lions a legitimate game? Or was there an asterisk on the Lions win? Because I put on here because Kelsey did not play. And then somebody pointed out, his name was the Real Sasquatch, says it's not a fluke that Detroit won it, but Chris Jones didn't play, and that was probably more important than Travis Kelce. And then the other response that I got, which a lot of people kind of alluded to the same thing, this guy's name was OK Jello, says there should have been an asterisk because Kadarius Toney played. There was quite a few people that kind of, said the same sort of thing because they feel like Kelce was out. Toney got more targets than he normally would have, and that hurt them in the game. Obviously, he had several drops, the worst one being the one that went right through his hands that Branch took for 6. So, yes, the majority of the Chiefs fans seem to consider that a legitimate game. So they were not on Tirico's side and said that there was an asterisk on it. Next question I asked, if they could trade for one player on the Lions, who would it be? Who do you guys think they would have said? Jason, who do you think?
I'm going to say Gibbs is who I think that they said.
All right, Ash.
Could be Amon-Ra, though.
I was going to say Gibbs as well. I know they've been looking for a running back for donkey's years, haven't they?
Okay, so the overwhelming majority, I would say 90% of these comments said Aiden Hutchinson.
Well,
and a lot of them just said, they were talking back to the other people and said, if you didn't pick Hutch, then, you don't know football. So then they're talking amongst themselves and everything. There were quite a lot of votes for Jameer as well. And then a few people said Amon-Ra. And that was probably the most interesting thing to me. There were a couple people said David Montgomery and Branch as well, like a few stragglers. But a few people said Amon-Ra, and then they had a discussion on there that kind of blew my mind because somebody said that Rashee Rice is equivalent or pretty close to Amon-Ra, so they don't need Amon-Ra. In what world is Rashee Rice equivalent to Amon-Ra St. Brown? And, I'm not there to stir anything up or comment on their post, so I let that go. But there were people that upvoted and agreed and thought, you know what? Yeah, Rashee's pretty close to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Which is, that's crazy to me.
Those are casuals, man. They don't know.
Right.
I mean, yes. I think everyone just thinks that he's like, it's because the slot merchant thing. And no, he is way more than that. He is.
Well, they're going to find out on Sunday.
That's right.
Yeah. So next question I asked, do you think the Chiefs and Lions are both legitimate Super Bowl contenders? Like, could this be a Super Bowl preview? And then I honestly did not see one person on the whole thread that said the Lions were not Super Bowl contenders. Every single one of them admitted that, yep, they think the Lions are for real. They think the Lions are contenders. They did seem to express some doubt about their own team. Most people seem to agree. They all kind of talked about, like, if they were to get a wild card spot, they'll be hard to beat in the playoffs. They think they just need to get their foot in the door and then they would be okay in the playoffs, but they seem to think it's going to be a long road to get there. And there were a few people that even said this game, it could be the breaking point. Like, this is kind of the measuring stick. Like, do they compete with us? Do they make this close? Are they able to pull off this game? Because then, the season and division could be potentially going downhill if they lose this one.
Yep. Those are good questions. I like
and then kind of on top of that, I said, do you feel like the season is trending towards being a failure because they're 2-3? I said, does the fan base in general still feel like the team is going to figure out and get it back on the winning track? Because obviously the history of the Chiefs and how they did last year and just how they've been doing, it's just interesting for them to be 2-3. Like, how do the fans feel? the majority of people still said the same thing. They thought that they were, on the fringe right now. They weren't ready to call it a failure. This guy's name is Adventurous Basket. That's the name of this Reddit user. He says there's a lot of casual talking point nonsense going on, but generally we all feel better about the team than we did at this point last year. And he admits they've been spoiled as a fan base, but he said that this is not a ridiculous hole to get past. And I thought that was interesting because, a lot of people agreed with that too, but he said they all feel better about the team than they did at this point last year. And I mean, last year there were a lot of close games as well that they were coming out on the better end of. So yeah, that was interesting to me that they feel, he said they feel better about the team. I said, do you feel like the Lions have a legitimate defense, or do you think the reason the numbers look so good is because of the Lions' opponents so far? And I listed our opponents on there for them. Most of them feel like the Lions do have a legitimate defense. A few people said they think that we're definitely top 10. A lot of them are acknowledging that our corners are out and they feel like Mahomes is going to have a big day. They have confidence that Mahomes is going to expose the backup cornerbacks. And last question I asked, is this Chiefs team going to be more dangerous because they're coming off a loss, or do you feel like you see the same intensity from them no matter what? And then quite a few people said it's kind of just going to be business as usual. They don't think that necessarily there's going to be a fire lit underneath them coming off a loss than it would be coming off a win. And then there was one person, his name is Reeb X1, and his quote, he said, "This team is a wreck right now. That being said, Mahomes is still Mahomes, bombs away." Okay. So yeah, I mean, they're putting this on Mahomes. They're hoping the matchup between Mahomes and the backup corners is going to go their way. But, the other team's fan base agrees that the Lions are a good team, and they do seem concerned. They think that we've got a legitimate Super Bowl contender over here. So it's just nice to get the other fans' perspective.
It is. Good job on that, Jacob. All right, let's move into keys of victory. Ash, I'm going to let you start us off here. What is your first key to victory?
Contain Mahomes. It's the same as a couple of weeks ago against the Ravens, where if you let Mahomes have some rush lanes to escape the pressure, he can make plays out of structure. We need to have a similar pass rush plan that we did then against a slightly better offensive line, admittedly, with some of the pieces that the Chiefs had, as you say, Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, Josh Simmons, they're good offensive line pieces. But we need to have that sort of squeeze and contain, because if we let Mahomes get out the pocket, well, we've all seen what he can do when he does that. He can launch the balls to Xavier Worthy on a scramble drill. So don't let him.
Yep, that's actually one of mine, is just keeps him in the pocket. There was so much, especially when we talked about our corner depth, right? You could only stay with those guys for so long. Keep him in the pocket and make him throw it, because if he gets out of, there was so much that he did, Jaguars just launching it up there. So yes, I agree with that, and that's maybe having a lean back is gonna help with a little interior pass rush, and that could be key to disrupting Mahomes, as long as our edges, Aiden and whoever's on the other side, Al Qadim, if they have him out there, whoever's on the outside just needs to hold their edge and not run past Mahomes, because he will scramble out of there. Jacob, you want to go with your first key to victory?
Yep, first one kind of goes along with that, but it's just do not allow the deep ball. Xavier Worthy and Tyquan Thornton both rely on deep passes. They both are very fast. Tyquan's averaging 20 yards per reception. They're definitely going to take deep shots, especially after what happened last week with Jamar Chase having that big touchdown. You know that they're going to be dialing in some of these deep pass plays. So they're going to take a handful of shots. We can't get greedy, can't get caught sleeping or biting on the double move. So it's important not to allow the deep ball, nothing over top.
All right. So my first one is run the ball. And when you think you ran it, you run the ball some more. This is number one. We already talked about their rush defense. It's not very good. They know that we're going to want to rush the ball. Do whatever if we need to, do some passes to get into the run to be able to open up some lanes, that's fine. But when we start running, we need to just keep doing it. What I want this to do is just show our domination up front and take their will away. They are 2-3. I know that they're a championship team. They won't get too down on themselves, but let's limit the crowd. Let's just show them who's boss, and this is a game I want to pound on the table and just say we're dominating you. Like when we were doing that to the Ravens, that's what I was doing, and freaking my boys out a little bit because I just get so excited about that. It's like when when you're running and shoving the ball down someone's throat, there's something so dominating and manly about that I just want to do that. And we're going to push them from 2-3 to 2-4. by running the ball. So I just want them to do that. And we'll talk about later on in our grit picks about who's going to get more of the carries, Monty or Gibbs, but I don't care. I just want to just dominate that. All right, Ash, you got another one?
Win the penalty battle. As you mentioned, they're more penalised than us, but for some reason, we just always get those penalties in the crucial moments. Like I was clipping up Sunday's game and that back-to-back where Aiden mistakenly puts his hand in the neutral zone and lines up offside and he negates his sack. The next play, Kirby wrestles Jamar Chase out of bounds and flips him over, gets the sportsman conduct. The Terry and Olding that negated Hutch's sack safety. Be disciplined because, again, like I said with the Bengals, don't give the Chiefs easy first downs to continue their drives. You get them to a further long and then suddenly you hold and you give them a new first down. You've lost that down. And come on, we're coming up against the full stop machine here at right tackle. He's already had, I think it's 8 penalties already this season. And another one that was offsetting. So of course, talk about Jawan Taylor missed legal formation when we played him in 2023.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't match them blow for blow with that. Just let them beat themselves in that respect. Keep nice and disciplined, and we'll come out on top.
All right, Jacob, you got another one?
Yep. So one of mine you just said was exactly the same. I said run the ball. I think we need to have 30 plus rushing attempts. Like definitely go on some longer drives, keep their offense off the field, take their will away. But another one that I had was give J-Mo the ball. I know we're utilizing him in the run game. I know the routes that he runs, let Amon-Ra and Laporta get open, but we really have to get the ball in this guy's hands beyond the first drive. Because, it seems like the first drive, he always touches the ball once or twice, and then we don't go back to him. So, and not just, yes, we like taking the deep shot, and obviously you love when you hit the deep shot, which you're always able to do, but I want to see some more like mesh routes. And if Khalif's not playing, you can do a mesh route with him and Tesla. One of them is probably going to be streaking open on one side. They're both going to be able to do some damage like that. Maybe give him more than one rushing attempt. I know we don't really do the screen thing with him, but we've just got to find ways to get the ball in his hands. I know he's helpful being a threat and opening up for other people, but I really want to see J-Mo with the ball more.
I like it. All right. My last one is dominate third downs. We got to on offense, we have to get, sustain drives to keep Mahomes out the field. And we could do that by running the ball, getting short third downs. I want to see the opposite. I don't want the Chiefs to get to convert the third downs. I want to take the crowd out of it. I just want, our defense to get well rested, dominate time of possession. So the best way of doing that is running the ball and then dominating third down. So that's my last key to victory is we better be coming out on the better of that stat. You got any others, Ash?
Use Jack Fox. We all saw what he did last week in terms of pinning the Bengals deep. Do it again because we're going up against a team that somehow is worse at punt returning than the Bengals. So the Bengals right now are rated actually pretty around league average, let's say. The Kansas City Chiefs are 23rd with 8.8 yards per punt return. So let's say Jack punts it from our 40 to their 5. You pin them in the 15. They have to go 85 yards, and as good as their offense they are, they'll likely make a mistake in that and beat themselves. So I know, obviously, we love to be the aggressive team. I think we saw the evolution with Dan last week where he knows to relent to line his defense and his special teams. Do it again because Kansas City are not good on special teams. Use that against them.
Yeah. I know we talked about in penalties too. I don't have that in front of me. I don't think you mentioned it, but it seems like they have a lot of penalties on special teams. Like a lot of penalties on the returns. Like they just can't get out of their own way.
Well, it happened on the last return of the game for them last week.
Yeah.
They got all the way out to like past the 30 and then they got stuck at the 15 and had to, they only needed a field goal to tie that up. They had all 3 timeouts. I mean, that penalty hurt. Oh,
absolutely.
All right, Jacob.
I got one more.
You got one more? All right, good.
Blitz in the red zone. I think we need to time our blitzes better. I mean, Shep's going to have a pretty good game plan with the backup corners and everything as it is. I think we need to be smarter, and I think we need to make sure that we blitz in the red zone. Mahomes has thrown 2 interceptions this year. Both of them were in the red zone. Both of them were under pressure. And the Jaguars ended up turning that into 6 the other way, and that really was a difference in the game. They pick it off at the 1-yard line. I think the other one was like the one, it bounced off Kelsey's hands. The Eagles intercepted it. But still, pressure in the red zone for whatever reason. It seems like that's when Mahomes is, going to his first read or taking a chance. So I think we need to dial up some blitzes once they get down to the red zone. And Mahomes' completion percentage is actually towards the bottom of the league. For whatever reason, once he gets there, it seems like he just goes to that first read. Maybe goes away from his, scrambling or trying to create something. So I think if we blitz in the red zone, we're going to find some success. He's going to make a mistake, or at least we're going to be able to lock in and not allow a touchdown, make him kick field goals.
I'll be really interesting if we're going to run the same strategy we did with Lamar, like the spy, like rush 3 and then have the, linebacker, and they rotate that so that, Patrick doesn't know who that player is going to be. But the key is because the Jaguars rushed 3 a lot and Mahomes just kind of ran all over it. They did not have a spy, though, at least the plays that I noticed. I know that you reviewed the tape, Ash, but we also put it on tape of what we did so they could practice against it. That was a brand new wrinkle for for Baltimore, so we're going to have to change it up a little bit. But I will be curious if we run any spy on Patrick.
For sure.
Same.
Yep. All right.
Same.
Let's move on to the Roar Alert. This is the player that we think is going to make some noise for the Lions. Jacob, I'm going to throw it to you first. Who is on your list?
All right. There's somebody else that I have not picked for Roar Alert before.
All right.
And remember, there's no jinxes with Roar Alert, so this doesn't matter. I'm going with Jake Bates. I think this one might be close. I think Bates is going to do something. I have a feeling we'll talk about him when it's over with.
Nice. I like it.
I love that.
All right, Ash. Ash, who do you got?
I referred to him earlier. There is a certain, free safety who's still hunting for the league in interceptions, and he currently hasn't picked off Mahomes. I think he does that. Kirby Joseph, come on down.
All right.
Nice.
So
I hope.
I'm going with a safety as well. Branch causes a turnover. So I don't know if he picks Mahomes or he gets a punch out. He causes a turnover. So is that okay, Jacob, that I didn't clarify? Like, is a turnover okay?
That's fine. I'll allow it.
Okay. All right. Scary. All right. Now that we've got past the Roar Alert, let's hit into the Grit Guarantee.
It's time for the Grit Guarantee.
Ash, you're first. What is your guarantee for this game?
Travis Kelce has under 30 receiving yards, but 2 touchdowns. I know it sounds like a bad jinx, but you see what Mark Andrews did when we had the similar game plan. You saw what Tucker Kraft did to us in week 1 against these teams that have a better offense because of the way our defense is sometimes and the way that we line up. Those tight ends can eat, especially in the red zone. So while, for the most part, he's catching Roy's keep up with him, for some reason in the red zone he gets it, but it's not enough. That is the face of Ophelia for him this week.
I like you, Ash, because you get so specific in the Grit Guarantee. Like last week with the rollout, now it's 2 touchdowns and under, you could have just went with 2 touchdowns. No, you got to throw the receiving yards in there too.
Mm-hmm.
Jason tries to go as broad as possible so that he can be right more times. And then Ash narrows it down to these specific things.
I know. You're on to me, Jacob. All right, Jacob, what's your Grit Guarantee?
My Grit Guarantee this week, now that the curse is over, we are going to win the turnover battle. So we won the turnover battle in all 4 of our wins this season. The Chiefs have also won the turnover battle more times than not. So I think that this one's going to come down to who plays the cleaner game and makes less mistakes, as it usually does. But, I think with the backup corners, they're going to try to throw more. I think they're going to come into this thinking they're going to throw more and have more success. But I think we're going to have enough pressure, hopefully to create some more strip sacks or, just force Mahomes to make errant throws maybe. Hopefully to Kirby Joseph, as Ash pointed out. But yeah, I'm going to guarantee that we win the turnover battle.
Nice. All right. That would be a good go a long ways to winning the game. I hope that comes to fruition. I am going simple. Amon-Ra scoring a
Shocker.
TD. Now,
Shocker.
I wrote, hey, Amon-Ra TD. That's Avon. He did score one last week. I wrote that before the injury report, but I'm still sticking with it. Amon-Ra's going to, primetime Amon-Ra's going to come up. We're going to need, Goff will find his outlet, and Amon-Ra's going to get a TD in this one.
For sure. I like it.
Yep. All right. Now let's move on to Grit Picks.
Grit Picks.
I'm going to gloat because I am the only one of us 3 that got a win last week. Jacob and Ash both went 0-3. I went 1-2. my pick looked really bad with Trevor Lawrence laying on the ground and stammering to get up, but yet he still managed to get the touchdown. I win. Yes. So we all picked the Rams. Did not see Mac Jones having the game of his life for the 49ers. So the Rams went down.
Ash almost picked the 49ers by mistake, if you remember, but
Yeah, I know. He should
Exactly. I
have.
should have went with that divine intervention. I should have known.
yeah.
And then Jacob gets half credit on this. He said that the Patriots-Bills game was going to be close, but didn't have the stones to pick the Patriots, so
Hey,
he still is a loser.
You guys both
And-
doubted the Patriots big time. I said top 10 offense, top 10 defense. They're going to put up a fight.
And
And they did.
And the Bills didn't put up a good enough fight. So Bills go down. And then the game that we mentioned earlier, Jaguars, Chiefs. Jaguars beat the Chiefs. I picked them. Jacob Nash did not. So let's see if we can do better this week, fellas. There are 4 games total in prime time. One of them's the Lions, so we'll be doing something different on that game. First game is Thursday Night Football. Eagles at the Giants. The Giants who just lost to the Saints. I'll start with you, Ash. Who do you got, Eagles or Giants?
I would love for the exciting whites to continue shocking the league, of course. I'm talking about Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo, who, is such a madman, such a Dan Campbell running back. I wish we got him, cleaning out Cam Jordan. Like, I wish that could continue. But despite their struggles on offense, despite, AJ Brown going onto Twitter and having his little moan fest, Eagles have still got too much talent for their divisional rivals to overcome. And I could be totally wrong, but unfortunately I have the Eagles still being up there and winning the game.
Jacob?
Yeah. So the Giants just lost to the Saints, and the Eagles just had their first loss in a close game against the Broncos. So they're both coming off a loss. The Giants' defense, though, is bottom 5 in the league right now, and the Eagles just played the Broncos, who have a top 5 defense. So I think Philly's going to be able to move the ball much easier in this one. It's a divisional game. Saquon back in New York is probably going to be showing out even more. So I think the Eagles are just going to be firing on all cylinders. So I'm pretty comfortable picking the Eagles in this one.
Yeah,
What about
I
you,
think
Jason?
Jackson. I'm going with the Eagles too. Jackson Dart against the Eagles defense does not seem like a winning proposition. All right, Sunday Night Football. Our Lions versus the Chiefs, who we've been talking about all show here. We are not picking the game because Jacob's
I
superstitious. He refuses to. So we are going to pick who is going to have more rushing yards, Gibbs or Monty in this game. Ash, who are you picking?
Monty. I know last week he got the most, more the snaps, more the carries because it was his homecoming. But looking at their defense, their defensive line's not good against the run. The linebackers are good though. So I'm going for the guy who, the traditional bowling ball, get through the holes in the defensive line, break through the arm tackles on the linebackers, pound the rock. Simple. So give me the power back who doesn't like to be called a power back.
I was going back and forth, and I originally had Monty, but I think it's Gibbs' turn to break out. He's going to have a very long run in this game. So I'm going with Gibbs, but originally I had yours, and I think that you have a good chance because I think they're going to attack this defense like they did with the Ravens. Gap run scheme. I trust Monty with that, reading the holes and going. I could see that happening. But Jacob, break the tie. You going with Monty or Gibbs?
So you guys are missing out that there's a pattern here that they're taking turns. So week 1 was Montgomery, week 2 was Gibbs, week 3 was Demo, week 4 was Gibbs, and then last week was Monty again. So it's only right that I have to pick Gibbs this week. Matchup wise, like as you guys have already said, I think Montgomery might be getting. Maybe Montgomery gets more carries, but Gibbs just does more with them. I also feel like maybe we're going to utilize Gibbs more in the passing game this week. I just, which is not the question. It says rushing yards, but I'm going Gibbs here. I think Gibbs going to have a big game.
Nice. All right. Well, I'm expecting Gibbs to. That was his first career game was ever against Kansas City. He would have had a touchdown, but he fell down. He was running out of his shoes. This time he doesn't fall down. He is he is not a rookie anymore. All right. There's 2 Monday Night Football games. Again, we all hate this.
Boo.
It's stupid. It needs to go away. But the first one is Buffalo at Atlanta. Jacob, we'll start with you. Who you taking, the Bills or you taking the Falcons?
You haven't went first yet.
Oh, you want me to go first?
I want
All
you.
right.
I want to hear what you have to say about this one because
All right,
you're
well.
pretty pro Falcons for a lot of this stuff. So
I know. Did pick the Bills are coming off a loss. They're not going to lose 2 in a row. I wanted to say Atlanta because I think that they could win. Buffalo hasn't been like exactly lighting the world on fire, but I'm still going to go with Buffalo. They're not going to lose 2 in a row.
interesting. I thought that was going to be the one where you might try to be different and pick Atlanta.
Got to be different. Jason's got to be different.
You do.
All right. Let's go with you, Jacob. Who are you picking?
Yeah. For the same reason, the Bills had their first loss against the Patriots. They did not like that, so they're going to be hungry in this one. And really, the Falcons are 2-2 right now, but their offense just is not clicking. They lost 0-30 against the Panthers, and then they did come back and beat the Commanders, but they played the Commanders without Jaden Daniels. So I do think the Falcons' defense probably keeps them in it for a while and keeps it closer, but I definitely feel like the Bills are going to win comfortably. And it was interesting to me, the Bills line right now, like the Bills are favored by 3.5, and they had a 7.5 point swing against the Patriots last week.
Yeah. Atlanta's coming off the bye, and then, the loss probably, and it's away. So that's probably all swung a little bit, confidence a little shaking, but we'll see. Where do you got, Ash?
Yeah, unfortunately, as much as I secretly relish the fact that Sean McDermott is finally he's like essence is starting to ease on the Bills again. They're starting to become what we call over here bottle jobs. They're going to grind it out against the Falcons for the exact reasons you guys listed. As much as the Falcons defense is good, their rookie edge rushers are doing kind of well. It's Josh Allen, and with James Cook, finally sort of breaking out this season. Thank God I drafted him in fantasy. I can just see him keep scoring points, and Atlanta won't be able to keep her.
All right. Monday Night Football. Let's go with Ash. You got Bears, the second game of Monday Night Football. Bears at the Commanders. Commanders are favored by 4.5. First of all, before your pick, is this game going to end on a Hail Mary? And second, pick who would win such game.
I don't think it's going to end on Hail Mary, and I have the Bears to win.
Well, Bears, all right.
Ben Johnson has had 8 months to sit there and stew about what the Commanders' defense did to his offense when we played them in the divisional round. He will want to come out and put a beating down on them. And you know what? As much as Dennis Allen wasn't a good head coach, he's kind of good as a defensive coordinator. And the way their defensive line is, it doesn't really get much pressure, but it might be able to contain Daniel Daniels just enough to maybe get to him and force some errant throws. So I have the Bears to shock everyone and somehow beat the Commanders.
All right. That would shock me. My pick is the Commanders. So Jaden Daniels is back. I think they're going to get back in their winning ways. Jacob, what do you got?
Yeah, I agree with Jason on this one. The Commanders are coming off a huge win against the Chargers in the return to Jaden Daniels. They went down 10-0 early in the game, and then they scored 27 unanswered points, and it was a comfortable win for them. The Bears are coming off a bye week. So, I would think that they're going to be well prepared, but I just don't think the Bears defense is good enough to be able to stop them when it matters. So I've got the Commanders winning.
Nice. All right. Well, that's it, boys. This is going to be, I know, Ash, you got to stay up late. Sunday Night Football is always awesome for us in the States. We don't have to stay up as late, and it's the only game on. I like it better than Monday Night Football. Jacob, are you in the same boat? Yeah.
I like them both.
Okay.
Yeah. Sunday Night Football is just different. You have the day off, all day's football. The kids are able to watch a little bit with me before they got to go to bed for school. Sundays are just cool. It's a vibe.
Yeah. It is. It's like,
you've got extra football as well this week. So we've got the second London game as well. I'm sure you guys are riveted to go and watch the Jets.
Yeah.
Dude, we get a little bit of taste of what it's like to live on the West Coast by waking up, and then football's on, with my dog and my kids, I'm usually up around before 8 o'clock or whatever. And, normally I got to wait all the way to 1 o'clock to watch a game. Well, it's so nice when it's on at 9:30. It's like, I don't care. It's football, man. I'm NFL football. I'm watching it. I really don't care the teams. It's just football. I love it. And then it gets me all the way up to 1 o'clock. And then, I'm off red zone. And yeah, when the Lions aren't playing, it's red zone and on to, the day. So as much as like I don't want my team traveling, like, and it's having that travel disruption. Like, think of the Vikings; they've been over there for like there for 2 weeks, like, and that just gotta mess you up.
It's the new norm though now. That's why
Yes.
they did it to test, and now that's what everyone's gonna have. It's gonna be so great when Roger gets his the CBA done, so everyone has an international game every year.
Yep, and I'll be okay with it when everyone has it, because then it's like, okay, we'll figure it out. They'll add the 18th game in there. Everyone's going to have an international game.
Mm.
It'll be just the norm. I could tell you that from a season ticket perspective. Like next year, we're going to probably lose a home game, which that's going to suck.
Yeah,
They're not going to lower the season ticket prices, but we're going to lose it. We're going to lose the game. So I don't like it from that perspective, but it's I don't like 2 Monday Night Footballs because they're played at the same time, so you can't watch them both at the same time.
Yeah.
But having this extra game Sunday morning, I love it.
They could have the Lions play a game in Canada. It wouldn't be that hard logistically. That could count as our international game.
Yeah, just go over to Toronto. We'll play at the Rogers Center or wherever. Yeah. And then the 6-hour trip over there would be shorter than going to
be like any other game, right?
Yeah. It would be like a second home game. I bet you there's a fair amount of Packers fans, but a lot of Canadians, like especially close to the border, are big Lions fans.
Right, for sure.
quite right.
Yep. So, I mean, we're talking to someone that lives across the pond that's a huge Lions fan, right? He's the longest distance Lions fan that I know.
Right.
All right, Ash, what are you guys working on over at Roar the UK over there, or Roar the Lions UK? What are you guys working on? What are you working on? What do you want to promote?
So tomorrow night, I think it'll be about 1-2 Eastern time, we'll have our preview podcast, and we will be fortunate to have a UK fan on from, I think it's Arrowheads Abroad, so that'll be quite fun to speak to him, get his perspective and wind him up a bit, because come on, you got to have a bit of teasing fun with them. And then I can promise, I've got it all written up. I finished it off tonight watching the Tigs. Game preview will be up at 1:30 Eastern on Sunday, before I'm hitting the hay early to be down in London on Sunday for our international fan meetup, which is looking good. We're going to be at the Hippodrome Casino in Leicester Square, and where they've just got a whole floor just full of sports screens, and suppose that's where everyone's going to be, because we'll have the London game and everyone will pour out from Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which I hate because I hate that team.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone then come in and it'll be a nice little fan conglomeration. And then hopefully by the bye week, we'll have finished this article that I've spent 4 months on about the defensive scheme and about Branch and Barnes. I'll finally have my nice, lovely drawings done for that. So I can finally post that and have, you think the 10-minute long game preview is going to be annoying? Try a half-an-hour excursus about the defensive scheme. That's going to really keep your juices going during the bye week.
I love it. I'll be watching it. I'll be learning something like I always do from you, Ash. I appreciate you staying up with us. You're welcome to come back anytime. And then we want to return the favor for you guys whenever you guys want us on. We'd be glad to do that again.
Of course, but I'll see what I can do with all these games, though, with people going on holiday. Sometimes it's hard to book, get the guest books in properly, because one week everyone's, this person's away, and then suddenly, we're not doing this week, so be in London. And then, as you say, hopefully we can get something sorted, even if it's like we're sitting down after the Super Bowl and having a nice big celebration online together. Because that's going to happen. I'm selling. I'll come for every time. I'm selling my kidney. I'm going to be there in the victory parade.
Oh my God, that would be awesome.
Nice.
Well, that'd be great. You could save some money. You could stay with us. You could say, I got a room at my house. Jacob has 4 kids. He has no room at his place, but I have a room at my place. So you could.
I got a garage. It'll be cold in February, but.
You saw me last week dealing with my aunt's place. That place, as you said, was like 7 degrees Celsius most of the time. She had the heating off when she was on holiday. So that's why I was sitting there with my jumper on, just shivering. So I'll be used to it. I can sleep in the garage. I've slept in worse places.
All right. Well,
Ash,
thanks for coming on.
Negative 17 Celsius. Right. I had to look it up here. So.
Oh God. Okay. Definitely got to bring the jumpers.
Yeah.
We'll put a heater out there for you. It'll be all right.
Yeah. Sleep with a dog. All right. For Ash and Jacob, I'm Jason. Sunday Night Football. I'm jacked. You guys should be jacked. Let's go, Lions.